Okay, we're going to get started here. At this point, I'll take a motion to close executive session and to reopen the public meeting. Is there a motion? Trustee Taylor, second. Trustee Cassell, all in favor? Okay. Meeting will come to order. We will begin with the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag and a prayer by Trustee Cassell. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Yesterday, we experienced one of nature's great phenomenons, the total eclipse of the sun. So in recognition of that and in recognition of the important role that nature plays in many cultures, I would like to read the following, which is an Apache blessing. May the sun bring you new energy by day. May the moon softly restore you by night. May the rain wash away your worries. May the breeze blow new strength into your being. And may you walk gently through the world and know its beauty and all the days of your life. Amen.
Well, that was a beautiful, beautiful words, Donna. Thank you very much. And good evening, everybody, and welcome to the magical world of Village Hall. This is a regular meeting of the Board of Trustees for Tuesday, August 22nd, 2017. We've kind of been on our summer session schedule, so we just been having one meeting per month the last 2 months, and we're always busy. It doesn't matter whether it's winter or summer or any month of the year, but we have a lot of things that we'll be covering tonight. So just a real quick background. I'm going to start with a special announcement, which I'll give shortly. We have an appointment to formally recognize tonight. We do have 2 public hearings, so when we get to those public hearings, we'll take a motion to open those public hearings, and for those 2 specific topics, there will be a chance for residents to speak on those issues specifically. Following the public hearings and whatever actions we might or might not take, we'll get the courtesy of the floor. So if you're here for anything other than wanting to speak to these public hearings, that will be the time to do it. Once you're recognized by the board or by the chair, please come to the mic here, state your name and address for the record, speak clearly into the microphone so everybody can hear you and pick you up on TV that's watching and for the record, and try to keep your comments to 3 minutes if you can. We really do appreciate it, and then we'll get to matters requiring action after that. So to start off, the chair that normally would be filled to the far right, my far right here, which is the place where Trustee Annalisa Corrales sit, is empty tonight. That is because Annalisa had to step down as trustee due to the fact that she has moved and she's no longer a resident of Dobbs Ferry, which is one of the requirements of being an elected official. Residency in the village is one of the requirements of being an elected trustee. It's not unusual. It's not setting a precedent. I know we've all been on boards where, for whatever reasons, people have had to move on, and life doesn't always move in a straight line for any of us. Sometimes we have to move sooner than we anticipated or would like. I do like to believe, though, that things happen for a reason, and normally for good reasons. And certainly we are very, very sorry to see Annalisa have to step down and go. Thankfully, it's not for health reasons or anything that's negative going on in her family. It's actually for positive reasons, a new opportunity for her and her family, and that's always a good thing, and that's always got to be one's priority in life. Annalisa was an excellent trustee. She worked very, very hard. She was thoughtful. She challenged us and all of the decisions that we faced together. She did a really good job. I enjoyed working with her as the mayor. She did a great job as recreation and one of her duties as a liaison to the Recreation Commission, and very helpful, and really appreciate her work and her support. And one of the big items that we'll be talking a little bit about tonight, as far as our bonding discussions on the work that's going to be done to renovate the Embassy Center. And I know that I speak for the whole board in recognizing the work and the efforts of Annalisa Corrales. We will definitely miss her. and we wish her and her family all the best. These things sometimes do happen quicker than you can really plan, and that was the case here. I did want to make a special announcement, but we have asked, and I have asked Annalisa to come back for our first meeting in September, at which point we are going to plan to have a special presentation to her and recognizing her work as a trustee, and we'll do that properly, and she's looking forward to coming back for that. So hopefully some of you can be there, or all of you can be there for that. It'll be a nice night, nice way to send her off. So we just wanted to make that announcement to everybody tonight. Okay, first item is an appointment, and this is to consider a motion to affirm the promotion of Police Officer Justin Kampke to Police Sergeant for an annual salary of $126,490, which will be effective from 100 hours on August 7, 2017. I think most of you that have spent any time in the village at all know Officer Kampke and what Justin means to the community. I think he was formally sworn in, and so we're sort of formalizing. He took the oath, and we've done that, but we want to formally recognize him, and we need to do this as part of the record and part of the process.
Yes, Mayor. It's a ratification of an action that has already been taken. Also, Justin is not here tonight because he's on duty at a conference for the Services Committee. I think he's in Las Vegas, someplace I don't know. But it's
Yeah, for training for a tough job. Someone's got to do it. But Justin's a great police officer, a great asset of the village, and we're really lucky to have him. And he's a great person, a great father, a great husband. Just real quickly, he did begin his career in the Dobbs Ferry Police Department in 2003 when he was appointed to the position of youth officer. He's worked tirelessly with the youth and local partners of our community to foster successful relationships and initiatives through cooperative efforts. Justin is a New York City Certified School Resource Officer and a New York State Certified DARE Officer. He gets involved in a lot of initiatives, a lot of which he started and finishes through on his own, including Coffee with a Cop, which is done each year, a chance for residents to meet with a number of the officers for a cup of coffee and just get to know more about what's going on and to talk as a community. The Holiday Hustle he's very involved with. That's a hugely successful event here that the Youth Service Council is very much involved. Kids bike safety, safe rides, child safety seat belts, alcoholic beverage compliance. He spends a lot of time with the kids up in the high school and the schools of Dobbs Ferry. And he was highly recommended by the Chief of Police, and we want to congratulate Justin and recognize him for the great work he's done, and this is a well-deserved promotion for Officer Kampke. Vic, you want to add anything to that? Because I know you've known him for a long time, too.
Yeah, knowing Justin throughout the years and just seeing how he's evolved, in every capacity that he's done to try and take every test, stay involved with the community. I think it's a great thing for Dobbs Ferry to have such an asset on our force. I know he's, changed, God, how many baby seats in my car when I first had kids to make sure they were all properly done. But he does it, for anybody that comes down and needs the help. And what he does with the kids, as you mentioned, Mayor, is just fantastic. And I'm very happy for him. I think it's a great asset for Dobbs Ferry.
Great, thanks, Vic. Okay, now let's move on to our public hearings. I'll give a little bit of background on each one of them, but to start,
We got to do a motion.
They need to do the motion.
Oh, motion for the appointment?
Yeah.
Yes, sorry, while we did have them swear in, we still need to take that action. So I'll take a motion to appoint and affirm the promotion of Police Officer Justin Kampke to Police Sergeant. Is there a motion? Trustee Golio, second Trustee Rosillo, discussion, all in favor? Great, that passes with 6 ayes. Good stuff. Okay, moving on to our first public hearing. I'll first need to take a motion to open and continuation of the public hearing for the purposes of consideration of the adoption of a local law to amend various portions of Chapter 300 of the Village Code of the Village of Dobbs Ferry by modifying the village's zoning and land use code. Is there a motion to open this public hearing? Trustee Golio, second Trustee Sullivan, discussion, all in favor? Okay, this is open. I'm just going to give a little bit of a background here, which I've done before. The many of you that are in the room tonight and watching and have been involved know the history, but real quickly, we have been, I say we, the Board of Trustees and many other people involved have been reviewing for over 3 years now certain modifications that have been recommended to be made to the village's zoning code. This includes some 3.5 years ago, the original appointment of an ad hoc review committee, which included chairs of the planning board, the AHRB, the zoning board of appeals, members of the board of trustees, the building department, the building's planning resources, to look at certain aspects of the village code which had been adopted in 2009, 2010. And we had had a couple of years, the village had had a couple of years in using the code pretty extensively and determining some things working well, some things were not working well, and the intent was to really look at the things that maybe not working so well and see how they might be improved. So that committee did its work. It was over the course of a good year or so. It was then presented to the Board of Trustees, who immediately referred it to the Planning Board and to the AHRB for their review, and they spent a fair amount of time on that. It was also reviewed and has been reviewed extensively, and what we're considering tonight, the final version has been reviewed and looked at. All of the members of this board have been very, very actively involved in this process over the last months and years. It includes also the review of a citizens committee, ad hoc citizens committee that was formed by the mayor, which has also been very, very involved and has really made some great contributions to the process. Numerous public meetings. There's been a lot of public hearings and public meetings and work sessions on this and during this process, so here we are tonight. We want to give any members of the community a chance to make some comments. I think we are ready. I don't want to speak for everybody here, but I do think we are ready to move forward on this. We have presented, it is available online, and it was presented, I think, Darius, this was sent out some time ago, sort of the final version from when we met last. There has not been any substantive changes to it. There's been some tweaking of language. It's relatively minor, but I think we have, and we are presenting to the public, we're going to consider tonight what we believe to be the final changes that we would like to move forward on. But as part of the process, we do want to take any comment and any final thoughts or any thoughts that any residents may have, and I'll give the trustees a chance to speak to this as well. So let me just start and ask if there's any residents of the village who would like to make any comments or during this public hearing at all? Yes, Stephen?
Steve Tillman, 22 Mall Street, and I just wanted to ask Darius about if you can tell me on 300-36E1.
You want page? I'll find it.
Yeah, I think I just
Yep, I got it. That's okay.
The last sentence of that, which is in the version that I have, based on a review of potential impacts cited above, any fourth story may be required to see. Is that still the language?
Are you on the last paragraph?
Yeah, under 1.
Yep. Yeah, it reads, based on a review of potential impacts cited above, a four-story and an increase in height of about 35 to 40 feet, if approved, may be required to receive the front facade, either with a sloping roof form or as a setback line, and the applicant must use available techniques to minimize visual impact of any such four-story or increase in height. In addition to down,
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Well, my proposal would be that should, instead of may, should say shall, just so that the code is more definitive about the setback. We've seen that setback operate in Hastings for maybe 20 years, and I think it's been really successful. So that, obviously, if there's a really good case that a fourth story is desired, then, there's a procedure by which you can go through and make your case for that, but it seems to me that in this, the language of may is a little, sort of leaves me a little bit like, is it really required or not? general thing, I've said this before, having spent a lot of time on the ARD before I was getting HRB, I would imagine that the Board of Trustees would not want to interject itself often into that kind of situation, because it's, it's an area that where the Board of Trustees certainly make policy, and there are, in site plan considerations, it seems to me there are more general community kind of interest and planning interest. But in ARB things, it would seem to me that it's an area where there's an expertise on that board, and from the Board of Trustees, I haven't seen this happen before in other communities. In general, we go to the ARB in other communities, and that's it. So I looked at this with some skepticism based on my experience, and I'll just leave it at that. If the board wants to interject itself, I wish you Godspeed.
Thank you, Steve. Anybody else care to make any comments at all? That's it? Okay. Thank you, Steve. I'll turn to the board here and just see if there's any sort of final thoughts or comments in terms of what we're looking at tonight and considering.
I think we have to close the public hearing first, or?
Well, I'm not going to ask for a vote yet. I'm just asking if you want to speak now and any comments during the public hearing.
Sure, I have some comments. I think this has been a very constructive process and one that's really worked well in an area that hasn't been easy for us as a village to work through. I really do want to take a moment to commend all of the participants in the ad hoc committee especially, and all the people who volunteered their time, going back several years to work to improve and tweak the code. And looking at things going forward, I don't think, and I don't think I'm alone in this, believe that this is the last change we're ever going to make to our code. And I think we've proven we can do it in a constructive way, in a way that all of us believe has made the code better. If it's not perfect, at least we're headed in the right direction. And I also would make the observation that the Ad Hoc Citizens Committee as a format for pulling more citizen input in a more detailed part of our village's work is something that seems to have worked very well in this case, a less formal setting than these trustee meetings. So I want to thank everyone who had input on this, and I think it's a job very well done.
Thank you, Larry. Nicole?
I second what Larry said, and I think everybody worked really, really hard from when it got referred to the planning board, to the initial ad hoc committee, to the second ad hoc committee, to really be constructive and make it a better code, which I think we have here, and it's also due in part to our village employees. Ed Manley, as our building inspector, did a lot of work and effort on the code, and Darius was really helpful in getting the language tweaked to where we need it to be. I do want to go back to what Stephen just talked about with the shall and the may be required to. It was originally shall, so do you recall why we removed it?
Yeah, I think the fear was that, I think the process now is if you go to the fourth story, it'll be decided by you, the Board of Trustees, in certain limited circumstances. And I think you as a board were concerned, the entire board was concerned of the mansard roof, the continuous mansard roof, and that's why the may was put in there. That's my recollection. So this gives you flexibility that, if you allow it and you want to slope the roof, you can, but if you don't, you can have it flat. Well, setback, excuse me, not slope, setback. That was the thought process, but whatever you want.
Right, but I think the reason we added, and Ed, you can correct me if I'm wrong, the last sentence, in addition in the downtown districts, the livable floor area of the fourth story is permitted shall not comprise more than 50% of the total floor area of the story below, protects us from those issues that the mansard roofs that we've seen in the past. Is that correct, Ed? Do you want to tell us?
That definitely makes it smaller.
Would have to be set back sometime.
We get to speak there, so we
What
can.
happens?
Yeah, could I ask you to come to the mic and just, so we can
Well, I couldn't
be
hear
clear
you
on this
also.
message? Was that?
I couldn't hear it, actually.
Right.
Yes, the restriction of the floor area of the fourth floor already makes it have to be set back in some manner. And most likely, you would decide to be set back from the street if it's a flat roof. So if it's a pitched mansard, it would be coming on all sides, because only 50% of the floor below.
Right, so do you think that the language should be that we should, it shall recede, or that may be required is needed for the flexibility?
I think giving the more of the flexibility to make a determination each individual application is the right way to go.
Okay, thanks, Ed. Any comments at all,
Yeah.
or before we?
As the liaison to the zoning board, and I've seen some, a lot of litigation, a lot of fights over some of the language in the prior code, you know, what's feasible, that whole issue, what's best efforts, that whole issue, and that involved a lot of litigation. And I think what we've done with this code is cleaned up a lot of that and made things a lot clearer. So developers and residents alike can review and know exactly what we mean. I mean, you know how lawyers are, right? And I think we've done a little better job of tightening things up. I think the ad hoc committee format was fantastic. It was, like Larry said, a less formal setting so that we could all put our ideas in and, you know, see what works and what doesn't work. So, I mean, it's a accumulation of a lot of people's efforts, a lot of time. So I think we should use this as a model to go forward and look at the rest of the code. So I'm happy that we've gotten here today.
Thanks, Vinnie.
Yeah, basically, just to reiterate what everybody else said, great job by the ad hoc committee and the residents that took, you know, the time out of their busy days to get involved and really help the process. And Darius and Ed, you know, all the time that you guys have put into this, and the board members, I think it was a job well done by all, and hopefully we'll be better off for it. And, you know, we'll see how it goes over the next year or two, and if we need to retweak it, we'll see you back here in a year or two.
Yeah, but what everybody said, and also, this was a major collaborative effort. Again, it started in the David Koenigsberg committee a couple of years ago. The planning board, since I'm the liaison to the planning board, I want to give them a shout out because they did a tremendous amount of work on this, and the ad hoc committees were really great, and, you know, Ed and Darius, and I also want to give shout out to trustee Nicole Sullivan, who did a tremendous amount of work on this as well. So, and to, you know, all the other board members who worked so hard to put this together. And as has been mentioned, this is step one. We need to look at other issues that the code has presented through the years, but this is the stuff that we were able to get done, that was identified as key issues that needed to be done as soon as possible. If this is as soon as possible, but at least it's getting done. We need to get this through so that we can then continue on and fix whatever else we need to fix.
I just wanted to add one more comment, because I know, like, when it got mentioned in the ad hoc committee, and I think it's been mentioned on the board, that, you know, having the setbacks from the aqueduct. So just in case anybody didn't read all the footnotes in our code, you know, there is now in the downtown districts a minimum setback of 10 feet from the aqueduct. So I think it's something that we'll be revisiting as we move forward with any future code changes, but it's a much longer and in-depth process than we had the time for here, and we didn't want to hold anything up, but it is an issue that's important to, at least to me. I'm not going to speak for the rest of the board, but I just wanted to raise that for anybody who's not aware that we did make that change in this code.
Thanks, Nicole. Thanks for all your comments. Then at this point, I'll take a motion to close the public hearing. Is there a motion? Trustee Taylor, second. Trustee Sullivan, discussion, all in favor? Okay, we'll close the public hearing and see if we can move this forward. I'll now look for a motion to consider the adoption of a local law, and as presented, including the legal notices that have been presented for public hearings, a resolution of the Board of Trustees of the Village of Dobbs Ferry adopting enabling legislation to sections of the zoning ordinance related to the AHRB and related issues, and a draft copy of the proposed amendments to the village's zoning and land use code, and to move ahead and adopt the local law to amend various portions of Chapter 300 of the Village Zone, Village Code of the Village of Dobbs Ferry. Am I doing okay?
Yeah, you are.
Okay. By modifying the village's zoning and land use code. So that is the, that would be the resolution. So I need a motion for that. Is there a motion? Trustee Sullivan, second. Trustee Taylor, all in favor? That passes with 6 ayes. Okay, great work again. I know a lot of people were thanked, but I do want to thank all the citizens involved. You all did a great job. Ed Manley, Building Department, spent a lot of time on this. Darius, you did a great job running the ad hoc committee meetings. And, you know, there were some testy moments, and people felt strongly about certain things, but you really navigated that really well. Good job in that. And I know everybody up here spent a lot of time with it. Nicole had a lot of recent meetings with you. Larry, Donna, Vic, and Vinny, great job, everybody, and all the citizens involved. Really ended up at a good place here. Thanks very much. Okay, we'll now get to our second public hearing, which is, I'll take a motion to open the public hearing for a site plan amendment to the Board of Trustees for the approved project, a mixed-use complex of residential and commercial uses, on-site parking, and on-site amenities for the residents. The site plan amendment seeks construction of an American with Disability Act ADA compliant ramp in the front of the 75 Main Street building. God, this one will not go away, will it? Okay, well, here we are. We're back again. I think everybody here pretty much knows the history. This is a public hearing, so we're going to take comments from, did we open the?
We didn't vote.
No, so, yeah, don't jump ahead here yet. So we'll open, is there a motion to open the public hearing? Trustee Cassell, second. Trustee Rosillo, all in favor? Okay, so now we are officially back here again. We're gonna have some comments. I think we see a way forward here. I'm not certain, I'm not speaking for anybody. I think we see a way forward here. But we do want to hear from some of the residents who have been concerned about this, this issue. And so, Bart, I guess you'll be first up here. Maybe tell us where you are and what you're thinking at this point regarding this ramp.
Okay, so it's more or less the same presentation that we did back in April, I believe. So I just wanted, throw out some facts, because there's a lot of misinformation going around. And one of the things is that, as it relates to the ramp, a lot of people can't envision these things. And the ramp height, I'm going to say that the height of the ramp, these are my two hands, the maximum height of the ramp is 18 inches. So there's like misconception that this is an open mass that's going to be there. But again, it's this high at the highest point, and then it slopes down. So that's one thing. The other thing is historical. The ramp, we have our historical consultant prepare a letter stating that, one, the building's not historical, and two, if it was historical, that the ramp is totally in compliance with the historical guidelines. So we have this letter, if we want to circulate it, that's just to give everyone information if the ramp has any impact on the historical preservation, if it was an historical site. So that's it, and then we're very attentive to handicap accessibility, so if the ramp wasn't an option, we would still have a portable scenario where we'd be able to put a portable ramp up if there was a handicapped person to accommodate that. So other than that, our presentation is more or less the same. I'm going to show you a picture of the proposed ramp, which is what we did. And then, again, stop right here. Some of the comments were that there be pedestrian restrictions with the ramp. So we have in our proposal or presentation showing that the ramp has no impact on the pedestrian flow, traffic, circulation, and other than 1 meter that potentially can be moved over a couple of feet. So that's pretty much the picture. So here's an illustration of what it would look like. And you see it's very subtle, and it's there, and you can see with the bulb out, it really doesn't really have any impact on the traffic. And along with that, we've gotten Con Edison to
Okay, that's your presentation, Bart?
All
right, thanks.
I have, if anybody has any questions, I can answer it, but I mean, there's not really much else to talk about.
Any comments or questions from the board? Donna?
Yeah, I'll start off with, because one of the issues that a lot of people have is that this came to us after final site plan approval, and we all know what went into getting this project done and getting the final site plan approved. So now there's something that's being added to it. Why was this not presented to us initially?
I'm not sure where the disconnect is here, because I think, we came to you in April, and I think there was a disconnect there, and that I guess it should have been treated as a site plan amendment, at which time you granted us an easement for this. And I think if you're going back to when you guys originally approved the project and we didn't have it in there, then that's exactly what we're doing. We're asking to amend it on the site plan. Because ever since the project was approved, we've always had the ramp in our plans. So
So you added the ramp after the board gave final site plan approval?
we added the ramp after the board gave final site plan approval, and we came back to you right now, we're coming back to you for a site plan amendment. That's what we're officially doing right now.
Because I think the question is, because you knew about it like so soon after the final site plan, why wasn't it brought as part of that whole year of public hearings and ADA compliance raised as an issue, and how you intended to do that, and the ramp being your proposal?
We never came to the, after we got site plan approval, it was more of mass and density of the rear. We were never, this was never a line item. Let's just say.
Well, I thought at one point the use changed, though. The use, that didn't change along the way?
No, we haven't changed anything since the resolution. I mean, this is, again, there was three things that we amended from the initial one, which one was the prop bench, one was the location of the garage door, and this was the third thing that's considered a site plan amendment. So again, this has evolved, and we came to you in April with this concept here, at which time you guys granted us an easement, I think we spoke about something about how the first floor retail, commercial, is about 3,500 square feet, give or take. And there's one 1,700 square foot. If the first floor retail was 3,500. Wasn't there one use that was supposed to be a,
Element, the real estate
element,
office.
a real estate company that was gonna take the whole retail space, commercial space?
And they were
And
gonna,
then you separated it out? No.
Okay,
let's
let's
just
go.
Main Street is the same retail Right. space as been forever. Right. It hasn't changed. It's a footprint about maybe 1,500 to 1,600 square feet, 40 by 40. It's the same footprint. It requires very little bit of work to.
But the other retail, the other commercial space,
The other
we
commercial
entered,
space on Chestnut Street, which has similar square footage, but that's down in the middle of Chestnut Street.
and you enter there.
You have a clean entrance right from the street. There's no steps or anything.
but originally
Yes.
that was to be connected, no, with
I
Element?
thought that's what you said.
No.
Connected to? I don't
Those
know.
two spaces, right?
You can't connect it to it. It's physically impossible. One's on
I
a
thought you said
sub-level and one's a street level.
Because I think my question is that the site plan was approved by the board in July 2016, and you didn't come back to us about the ramp until April 2017. So where's the disconnect? I mean, if you knew you had to do this, why didn't you bring it up before July 2016, and then why so long after July 2016?
I don't know the relevancy of that. Like, if I wanted to amend something a year from now and I came to you with an amendment, what does it matter what the time frame is here? I mean, right now, for this, we were more focused, and I think this board was, and me for 2 years and 44 meetings, was more focused on mass and density on the rear building than on the front ramp. So for me right now, I mean, if you don't do the ramp, I'm okay with doing a portable ramp. I mean, I'm trying to accommodate, handicap accessibility here. So the answer to your question, Nicole, it wasn't on my priority list versus the back building, which took a year and a half and, a lot of money and time to create that image. So this was something where we have a tenant right now, and as it evolved, this is where, that was when the intention was spent on this, and that's why we came to you for
Mark.
We can go to whys, because I mean, if you wanna say why, what happened in April when we did the easement? And then now you're asking me a question like this, if you want to address it, you should address it to you, so.
I don't think that's very constructive or helpful.
I'm just saying.
I mean, I know, I'm asking legitimate questions and you can answer them and you answered it, but I don't think turning it back around,
I
that's
apologize for that,
constructive.
I'm just saying, this is where we are right now, and I'm asking for an amendment for the ramp, and, you know, if you don't give me the amendment for the ramp, I'm okay with the portable.
What's involved with the portable ramp?
It's basically,
No.
a lot of you in the city have it. It's 3 or 4 aluminum devices that just slopes it down, and then you just portable slopes it down. Again, it's only 18 inches, and the wheelchair goes up.
I think that should be addressed, and I think Ed Manley, who has extensively researched this and talked to all the people that need to be spoken to on this issue, can address that very issue. Thanks, Ed.
So a portable ramp would have to have the same slope and safeguard rails as a permanent one. So I don't think that can be accomplished. I don't know how we would store that, because it's a pretty long rail to get that slope. So according to the Department of Justice, a portable would have to equal the same safety value as the permanent one. So as to why this wasn't on the original, I don't know. I wasn't with this one at the planning board. I did notice when it came to the ARB that the ramp was on it and it wasn't on the site plan, approved site plan. So we picked that up right away. But on the approved site plan, the sidewalk bump out was there, but for some reason the ramp wasn't on there. So went back to the applicant right away and said, yeah, we're gonna have to go back for a site plan amendment. In the meantime, I guess they spent a lot of time at the ARB going over, what the back was gonna look like and back and forth. So they lost track of their concentration on the ramp for a while. But after researching this for weeks, I wrote you a determination about all the exemptions and the cost prohibitive and structure, so that the chairlifts and those things are prohibited. So the only thing, even if the cost of the ramp exceeds that 20%, the federal government, ADA says they need to try to accomplish this, no matter what, in some manner. So this ramp on the sidewalk, we have the easement, we have the room, we have the bump out, is the way to do it. We can't force them to do a more expensive way internally, and we can't tell them, don't do it at all. So if we talk about a portable ramp, pulling it out of somewhere, it's gotta be that long and have a safety rail and not.
Makes no
be
sense.
while it's being used.
And I have another question. As you said, this obviously fell through the cracks because, according to even George Palmer's comments on this, it was, ADA compliance is supposed to be adhered to, et cetera, et cetera. So this obviously fell through the cracks somehow, some way, obviously. What can we do to make sure it never happens again?
More closer review at planning. That's flat out it. More time spent reviewing the plans.
Thanks, Ed. Good honest answer. Any other
If we re-
comments or?
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
If
go
we
ahead.
approve this, then it has to go back to the AHB to go over the materials for the ramp? Is that will be the next
I would
step?
suggest you place the materials back at the AHRB.
I think that that would be appropriate for the HRB to approve the final details of how it looks.
Yes, I agree.
But this is, maybe Mark can answer, or you can add, this has been part of the plans to the AHRB, as they always do the ramp. Have they opined or said anything about the ramp or the materials to date?
They have not.
My memory of it at the HRB was that it was not formally discussed at the HRB because it required site plan approval prior to their having looked at the final details and materials.
So let me just be clear about that. So you have not received any feedback or indication at all from the AHRB regarding the
Formally, I have, I mean, formally, they did not have any objections to the rent, but it's not a rent.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's,
discussion on that.
you've had that discussion with them though, and, okay.
Did you have any informal discussions about like what material to be, like would it be similar to what's pictured here, or?
I mean, again, you know, it's only 18 inches high, so it goes from 18 to 0, so if, you know, I don't have any problem, because it's such a small amount, what, you know, to come up with a concept and different materials with the HRB. And we do have a railing detail, which I think is very nice, and I think that they'll be receptive to that. And again, you can look at it, it doesn't really obstruct any views of the.
No, the picture's helpful, I'm glad you brought it.
And the HRB may want it faced with brick to make it blend into the building more, you know, that, I would leave that up to them, you know, the railing.
Oh, I understand, I was just curious about if there were any informal discussions about it.
And then is there any question from the building department standpoint that this building needs to be ADA compliant? Is there any question at all?
It does, there's no question.
Whether it, no matter where you at, you just designate it, no matter what, it has to be.
And it's not,
And acknowledging how much time that you've spent researching and looking at this, which everybody appreciates, have you also explored ways that there might be a portable or removable ramp that could be compliant and also might be effective for the developer as well? Or is it, I mean, is it technically feasible?
Explored a portable ramp, just quickly thinking about it, I wouldn't know how to store it, fold it up, it would have to be so large, it seems impractical to me.
I don't have as good a sense as you would about what you mean by large. I mean, is large 20 feet? Is it 5 feet long? Is it?
How long is
I mean,
the ramp?
it's gotta be 15 feet with the platform, so basically, you have to take a turn and go straight to the street. So there's not really, it's not, I would say it's not an option, because I'm not saying that, I mean, Melissa here is, I mean, you have to get 2 people to put it out for that small interval of time, and then take it out and in, because it would be a problem for other people coming in. I don't think it's a feasible option.
It would have to fold to get in the door, and then you would have to have rails that fit into place. Could be, maybe, you know, 20-minute ordeal just taking it out.
Are those, with that person sitting, is that stairs still, are the stairs still staying, or is it just a ramp now?
That looks like a bench to me.
Yeah, that's just a bench.
So are you eliminating the stairs altogether, or the
The
stairs?
stairs go
We're
down
on the other side.
right side, you have 2 stairs, 3 rises, 2 stairs on
Okay.
the right side, and then it slopes down on the left.
Is that bench something you're proposing to, or is that just artistic?
I mean, that's just a visual right now, I mean, we may put that in at a later time, but that's just a.
Is that where the bus stop is?
I don't think we need any
Oh, you
more
need bench at the
instruction
bus
into
stop.
right of way.
Yeah.
Just asking, just trying to understand.
Yeah.
Just want to be clear about what we're seeing and what's being asked.
That's okay.
Yeah, no, it's just
Spend
a
as
ramp,
much-
so I would, you know, aesthetics there, just a ramp.
Okay, you might see where this is kind of going, so I'll ask anybody from any residents that would like to come up and make any comments and.
Bruce Richards, 153 Main, I have a ramp. I don't approve, if you like skateboarders and liabilities, you should go for a ramp. My question is, the residents that live immediately above this space, how do they get here? I don't know, but I've been told is the elevator's not an option, but what we were told earlier, when the ramp was not in the site plans, was that the elevator would serve all areas of this building, front and back, both the Palisade project and this front project. So my question, what happened in the planning board denied this request, so there has been some opinions on this. The other thing is, we were told at the planning board meeting that, a handicapped person wouldn't have to go down Chestnut Street into the tower, get in an elevator, go up 18 inches, and then get to their final destination. Well, you've got residents that live right above that exact same spot, and they have to do that every day. So what I am still not understanding is why we can't have an internal solution to this, so that the, I'm gonna find out. So that, you know, we can actually preserve this building. I mean, that's the other thing, Mr. Manley. You know, everybody says it's not a historic building. It is a historic building. It may not have sanctions. My building's not historic either. But if you care about preserving something, you have to preserve it, and you have to do more than just a knee-jerk reaction of how to solve the problem. Because as I say, why does this person have to go down and get in the elevator, and it's not accessible for the retail store?
Thanks,
I'm not done, but
thank-
if you want to answer it, that'd be great.
It's not a knee-jerk reaction, not just looking for a way to get them in, I'm following the law, the code. That other area above is residential, which is all access from all ways from the elevator. This retail is at a different level, not ground level there or ground level here. It's in between. So to get to it, even from the elevator, requires either another internal ramp or a chairlift, which is cost prohibitive according to the ADA exemptions.
Well, cost prohibitive being the 20%. That's great. Okay, now, is
You should
this
speak into the
project-
microphone.
Oh, okay. The other thing is to break out this retail store as a very separate item. This is a whole project. It's part of the whole project. It's not a separate thing.
It is.
No, it's not, sir. It's, okay, then these, the preservation is also part of the retail. Is that part of the figures that you're using? No, I know, why not? That's part of the retail store. It has nothing to do with the apartments above. I'm questioning your,
This is
I'm
not
questioning your
my, this is
figures.
not my opinion. This is the results.
Everybody has to use the microphone, sorry, it's important that it's recorded.
These are results and laws resulting from consulting with state officials and federal government officials.
And they're against elephants.
No, they're telling us the law, that this has to be ADA compliant, that the handicapped people need to use the same entrance as the rest of the general public. Not some convoluted way in the back door, up an elevator, across a hallway, down a chairlift, and in the back door. It's,
Do you want to preserve this building?
I don't feel that this is taking away or detrimental to this building at all. That's what I'm talking about the law.
I understand.
Bruce, this was done by the village's consultant, historical consultant. So you say preservation, this is the village consultant that was retained for the historical preservation of this building, documenting that this ramp does not have any impact on the historical impact of this building. Okay, if you read this in its entirety and you outside, you come back with a different, these are facts, and this is from the consultant. So you need to take this package.
Okay.
Bruce will give you a little longer here to finish up, but, okay.
This has been a two.
And I know we all appreciate how strongly you feel about this too, so I know.
Then, I know I'm gonna lose the ramp, but now the windows are a whole other separate thing, and now they say we gotta change the windows because we've got the ramp, it's a package deal. Because now,
No,
no.
whoa, hang
No,
on.
I don't
No,
think
no,
that's
nobody's
correct.
saying that, nobody's
I
saying
haven't
that.
heard that from
No.
anybody.
We're not discussing windows here.
The windows are not, as somebody, Darius or Ed could correct me, but the windows are not under the purview of the site plan, that they would be under the purview of the AHRB. So this board does not, isn't choosing architectural details such as the windows.
Okay, it just gets nervous when I see neoclassical painted black, and I'm looking like a funeral parlor.
Right, but you know where you need to go for those
Well,
discussions,
they
those
didn't
issues,
have
and you've
the
been there.
meeting, Nor have they been able to express their, I mean, they were supposed to opine on this last week, and they didn't. And so the only people that have opined on it has been the planning board, who denied it. And now we're here to make a decision tonight. That's why I'm a little agitated, because we haven't heard from the AHRB, and now we're hearing about things that fall through cracks, and this doesn't work, but we're still going forward. That's what gets me nervous.
Okay.
Well, I mean, that was a big reason why we did the code changes to change the process, so this stuff would go to the AHRB before it comes to us for the final site plan, but unfortunately that wasn't done before this project was done, so it abides by the old code. I just wanted,
So the AHRB, it's a meeting that was canceled for lack of a quorum last week. This ramp was not on that agenda. Because they cannot look at this until you amend the site plan. Those windows, which are under the AHRB purview, were on the agenda. The windows and door changes. So the ramp has to be approved before they look at that.
Also,
And just to remind everybody, those, I think everyone in this room knows, but also people who are watching, the HRB meetings are public, and comments can be made at those meetings.
also the planning board, when they denied the recommendation, denied it because they wanted the developer to find an internal solution. From what I understand, that has been fully explored and that is not a possibility. Is that correct?
That's correct. The planning board was not, didn't have the benefit of that report.
Any other comments from the public? Yes, Peggy? Anybody else want to comment on this from the, Mike, Steve? Yeah.
I sincerely hope that the retail space works out for the person who's going to have business there. But at some point, they may decide they might need to offer food, because that seems to be one of the most successful things in Dobbs Ferry. So they might want to have a tea shop or something, in which case they would want to put tables out on the sidewalk. But you don't have a sidewalk to put tables on if you've got this ramp here. I mean, I can imagine, say, the cookery moving over there if the retail space is not successful. I think you should encourage this builder to find some way to make the elevator work. Now, you probably are familiar with the Metropolitan Museum down in Manhattan, built about the same time as this building. You go there to the front entrance, you've got about roughly 5 staircases to go up. You can't get that way with a wheelchair. There's a very discreet little sign that says, that has a symbol of a wheelchair, and it says entrance on 81st Street. So the person in a wheelchair would go around the 81st Street, go down a ramp, around the corner, up the elevator to get to that front floor. So I think you really, the ramp is not the best solution here.
Thank you, Peggy. Steve?
Steve Tilley, 22 Elm Street. On the, just in the sidebar on the historic nature of the building, at one point when we were preparing a tax credit application in the early 2000s, a staff member at CHIPA made a determination of eligibility, which is not currently in the CRIS database, but there's no question that it would be determined if we got CHIPA out, it would be determined to be eligible for listing on the National Register. It would be a piece of cake to list this on the National Register. And the second thing is that the site plan approval, in a sense, requires the retention of the neoclassical elements, so that sort of takes it out of the hands of the ARB, just as a sidebar again. And it also says that it has to be treated as though it were the highest category of historic landmark. So the comment that it's not an historic, not currently listed on the National Register is in a way irrelevant to the discussion, because it has to be treated as though by virtue of the site plan resolution. Which means, having done, if you go to the ramp at the Burnham Building in Irvington, you'll see a ramp with steps in the front of the building. The sidewalk is much bigger, so there's much more room, there's less impingement on, my walk down to my house, circumventing the ramp in this case. So, and that ramp had to go to the National Park Service for a real scrutiny. So real scrutiny has to be made by, whomever, following the Secretary of Standards. There needs to be a whole case that's made. It should be brick, there's no question about it. And this, if you just look at this, there's something distorted about this rendering. I mean, I do a lot of renderings. The ramp is too steep. It needs to be 1 in 12, and it's illustrated as much steeper than 1 in 12 illustration. So I'm assuming that the technical drawing shows it compliant. You can't go any more than 14 feet at 1 in 12 without a 4-foot.
I think you have the technical drawing if you want to see it.
Okay, and it needs to have railings on both sides, so that there needs to be a railing on the building side as well. Just I'm just pointing out that there's some other elements that will be here in the actual installation, so that differ from what's being illustrated.
Thank you, Steve.
It is true that there are no ADA police, but the state wants us to make every effort we can, up to 20% of our budget. I don't know what the budget would be considered in this case. The total investment in the property, we need to make a substantial effort to provide handicap accessibility. I don't think anybody would argue with the fact that everybody, you go to the ballparks, you can get to the seat. Everybody should be able to get entrance to a public accommodation. There's no argument about that. It's just a question of nitty-gritty of how you do it.
Thank you, Steve. Mike? Yeah.
Mike Merrill, 32 Walnut Street. I think probably most of you remember me standing up here a year or so ago, whenever the hearing was, asking specifically whether that elevator in between was going to serve all of both buildings, and being told that yes, that would accommodate both sides of the new building. So as part of the approval, there was the presentation specifically that you were going to be able to access the first floor from that building. The planning board stated that there are solutions all the time in the city that accommodate these things without putting in the new ramps. I see mezzanine stops on elevators all the time. I'm not sure why suddenly, because there's a difference in the level on this side versus the other side, or this side versus the next floor, that suddenly shuts down the elevator option. Especially given that we were told before that it was going to be served through the elevator. Another issue that I have with the process is, that we're talking about, in this case, bumping out the sidewalk and taking away part of the street. We never even had a public hearing on that question. But if we do this all the way down the street, we're either going to have to turn Main Street into a pedestrian zone or just eliminate parking there. In which case, you're going to have to find someplace else, because it's going to be really hard to find any handicapped people that are going to be able to get to that building in the first place. As a last comment, given that we've gone through some of these similar issues in the code change discussions, I kind of wonder how it's expected to work going forward if we're changing who does what in the middle of the process. Here, the AHRB was given a site with a potentially historic building that they were going to have to come up with a solution to make an addition to, and yet keep architecturally historic character on the front side of the building. Now we're going to do other things that supposedly we're not concerned anymore about the historic preservation. If nothing else, discussions, if the planning board has a different opinion now, it would probably be helpful if we heard that from the planning board instead of from a sidebar discussion, and they said, no, there is no other solution for this building. It absolutely has to have a ramp, because otherwise the whole thing doesn't make any sense. And to the question of how do we prevent this from happening again, exert some discipline at some point.
Thank you, Mike. Any other comments? Yes, Christie? And just one more? And then we'll take one more after that.
Hi, I'm Christina, 257 Palisade Ave. So it seems like we have two options. We can have a ramp, or we can have an elevator. I mean, we can't. We could have an elevator that costs a lot of money, that if somebody is in a wheelchair and they're trying to get to the store, they have to go all the way through the building and enter the building as if they were a resident, and it would it'd be cost prohibitive, and it doesn't sound like that's actually an option. So we're all speaking on behalf of people that are in a handicap. None of them are here, right? Like, I'd love to know what they would prefer to be able to access the front of the building, whether it would be a ramp or to go inside. But we're just assuming that, I don't know, we're hoping that they would want to go in the front, right? Because that's the entrance to the store. I just think that we're talking about this still, and it's a beautiful solution. I think it's a beautiful solution, and I hope we can move forward with a ramp so that handicapped people can get into the front of the building, if that's really the best solution. And clearly it has done a lot of research and to come to that conclusion. So thanks, Ed.
I just want to.
Christie, thanks for this. Let me, hang on one second, Nicole. And that's something actually that all these comments are really, really good. That Ed had spent a lot of time on was that, you know, had this discussion about the elevator and doing it this way and that way. And it's very, very clear under the guidelines that the ADA provides is that, to Christie's point exactly, is that the people that are handicapped and need assistance getting into the building, it's that they're going through the same way that all the rest of us that don't need that assistance do. That's a key component here. So you can talk about the elevator option all you want, this and that, and go back there, but it's not being fair, number one. And we don't want to see that. We don't want to be that kind of village. And the ADA is very, very clear about that, aren't they, Ed?
Yes, they are.
So,
They're
I mean,
clear that ADA accessibility needs to be at the same place as the general public. They give options of going around, like Peggy said, to a side door and coming in there, but that's not possible here. The elevator behind here stops up here. So the back wall here has basement structure underneath it. So you can't even have an intermediate mezzanine stop there to come in at this level. You would have to change the whole frame. Or you get off at this level, and then you have to create a chairlift inside here to get down into this floor level. So it becomes very cost prohibitive. So there's no way in here, there's no way to do this feasibly. This is the only answer.
thank you, Ed. I think we had one more. Yes, ma'am.
Spike raised chairs. I don't see a solution to this. I don't pretend to have one. This is a very, very phony problem. And the only solution may be to go with what is ADA compliant and to tremendously disturb the front of this historic building. That may be the only solution, because the ADA compliance, as I'm hearing it, has to come first. But I just wanted to point out what I've realized, that if you approve the ramp as proposed tonight, then that determines what the AHRB will be able to approve. It may be that this, Steve's pointing out this grade is not right, as drawn. It's pretty good as drawn, I have to admit, to my taste. that it's not gonna look like this. That the HRV is not going to be, it's got to have handrails and all sorts of things in addition, it's not gonna make it slope. And that those of us who care about the building are probably just gonna have to swallow it and say, it's got to be this way. That's what I'm trying to bring myself to say. So just so we don't all get really surprised when the HRB can't do anything to preserve at least part of the appearance of the building. I'm trying to say to myself, I've got to get over it. And that's not going to be easy for any of us. So I do hope that there is a solution that can be found that will make it look at least no worse than this. I'm hoping for that.
Thank you, Judith. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, everyone. I'm Melissa Lopet. I'm the owner of Atland, and I'm the tenant at 75 Main Street. I first want to thank the board for all the consideration that's gone into this, and to Ed and the immense amount of time, and everyone else the immense amount of time. I want to start just quickly by saying that I understand all the concerns from the community, absolutely. These are concerns that I myself have. The historic nature and the aesthetics of this building are immensely important to me and to my business. It means the world to me to do everything we possibly can to preserve the building and to make it absolutely beautiful and make it a beautiful space for the community. So please know that that is absolutely the intention. Going against federal law, however, is a very difficult thing to do, and it is a very tricky thing to do. This project is separate from the condo development. I have a lease. We are not making many alterations at all, just essentially fixtures and a light renovation of the space as it is. The back entrance does not exist, actually, so I think that's a really important thing to note. There is no back entrance to my retail space as per the approved plans that we have and as per my permit. So we really have no way, but I just want everyone to know that we did consider all options, but at the same time, it's very important that we do consider the accessibility, because at the end of the day, we need to ensure that we're being accommodating to the customers that come into this, that we make it easy for them. But it is federal law. Our hands, unfortunately, are pretty much tied. I mean, minus, with the board's decision, our hands are very much tied. And so I just want that to go on record, that, we're not fighting for anything. We're not trying to force something that the community is unhappy with. We genuinely are trying to comply with federal law and do the best we can. To the point about the drawings, I'm not sure about the monitor or the way that the projector works, but I also want to reassure the community that these drawings are accurate. They were done by my architecture firm, BW Architects. They are a prominent architect based out of New York City. They do projects all over the world. And they absolutely did build the ramp to code. There may be some design elements that may not be exactly what might be known, but there are ways to kind of use the requirements of the federal law and still have something that's beautifully designed. And that's the compromise we're really trying to make here. That's what we're trying to do, is everything we can to make this as beautiful as possible. So we're going to continue to do that. What will go in front of the AHRB will be a ramp as beautiful as possible. So in my opinion, the ramp will only get better from here. I may not be able to get a permit for the benches and the planters. I understand that. But I just wanted everyone to know that we're going to do everything possible to make this incredibly beautiful. Thank you for your time, and thank you to everyone for everything you've done regarding this.
Thank you. Thank you, Melissa. Yes, ma'am.
I'm having some trouble with the connection.
Sandra Olson-Merrill, 32 Walnut Street. Wasn't going to say anything, but I feel the need, while I appreciate the chamber comments, and I certainly appreciate a retail person who has concerns and needs to meet issues. My understanding is that she does not own the building, and she was right, and she's not involved in the approval of the project as a whole. I just have a question. We do have some processes to follow in our village. Does or does not the planning board have any expertise or authority in the area of ADA compliancy? They denied this.
Do they or do they not have any expertise or authority in this issue? And why would you be going against the ruling of the planning board? Is it because they did not understand ADA compliance when they denied this?
The planning board doesn't deny.
It denied the recommendation, I understand that, they denied they did not recommend this. Do they not understand what you said, Ed? They did not understand the rule of law in the country then,
This research
came afterwards. So, why do we have a planning board?
Any other comments? Okay, well, thank you all very much. Most of those comments were really, really good and positive, and I know we don't always agree on these things, but always good to get the comments. We appreciate them from everybody.
I have another question.
Yes.
We may have addressed this during the easement, but, because Steve had, Bruce brought up an issue about skateboarding on the ramps and blah, blah, blah. Liability for this grant, is it the building or is it on the village? It's on village property. Who has the liability for anything that happens on this ramp?
Could be both, I would imagine.
Well,
Darius
as
could
part
go.
of the easement, they're gonna be required to defend and indemnify the village for any, injuries or claims. They're also required to have the village named as an additional insured on their insurance policy that would insure it annually, so it'll be on that.
And Bruce, to your point on liabilities, yeah, that's a big consideration here, but also the liabilities to the village in terms of the ADA, being ADA compliant and what could have been exposed to the building itself and to the village. So liabilities of all sorts have had to be considered in this whole.
There's a bus stop there.
Thank you.
I mean, I have a similar thing, and you've got kids going over every day. I speak to parents daily. I put signs out, and it just happens. That's all. I mean, it becomes a jungle gym.
Yeah.
I wanted to say a couple of things. One, I think that, I know there was mention of this memo from the architect dated today. It does not state that the building's not historic. It just says it's not registered as historic. And I think it's accurate to say, and it's in the site plan approval, that part of the developer's obligation is to finish that registration process. And I think, at least as far as I'm concerned, it's considered a historic building. I think the point is that historic buildings still need to become ADA compliant. And to your point, Bruce, about the second floor and the access to that, the ADA only really is concerned with public access, and that's all that we can be concerned with. We can't worry about the private access that's between, a future resident and whether they buy the condo or not. I do have another question because, and I know people call me a stickler for process, but there's in the July 3rd memo we received, it talks about access to the retail space from the higher first floor space is not possible since that space is no longer provides access to the retail space. And I'm just curious as to the timing of that, if it was possible, does that change whether we needed a ramp here or was there an internal solution at that point or not? And it's not necessarily going to change anything today, but I need to understand it for the process and when this was decided. So I don't know if you can answer that part or somebody else on your behalf.
Ed can answer that. I can. I believe I just did before when I addressed Mike Merrow's question about the elevator, because we could have made them leave that back door and come in that way, but it was not relevant because you couldn't do it.
No, I'm talking about something different because it says the stairs in the building that previously led to that area have been eliminated. These changes have all been made in accordance with the construction documents.
On the back wall, there was a door and several steps down to the floor of this office space.
Okay.
And that's what I was referring to. So they've eliminated that door, but we could have made them keep it and do a chairlift there if that were technically feasible.
So the option, if that staircase still existed and all that, would have been this chairlift that we were talking about.
Right.
Okay.
Because
Just
there's
wanted to
still
understand.
stairs there.
Okay. And the other clarification that I want to make is that, when we're looking at the 20% threshold, I mean, it's my understanding that the exterior ramp exceeds that threshold too. So I just want to put that out there that, I think all all of the possible options that don't create structural issues exceed the 20%. And this is just something that I think the developer and the tenant feel is important, and the building department, so that we can be ADA compliant and have accessibility to 75 Main. I think that's important to have on the record.
Good point, Bill, very good point. Any other comments from the board?
Could I just ask one question?
Yes, Peggy.
Quickly.
Yep,
Just leave it at the microphone.
you got to come back to the mic.
Will they be installing a brand new elevator, or will they keep the old one that's there now, the rickety old one?
Both.
They're gonna do both?
Renovate the old one and then install a new one on the other side.
And so you're gonna have two elevators in that building, and you can't fix it so that one of them would stop and put that door back?
It
That
doesn't,
would solve your problem.
it doesn't, the door, like I said before.
I know where that door used to be,
The
yeah.
door's supposed,
Yeah.
that floor, where the elevator would stop, would be at this level, in mid-floor. So you
You
still
mean
need a
at-
way down to this level.
They can't set the elevator to stop where they want it, where you want it?
No, there's structure here from the basement, all
I-
the basement ceiling, that leaves the floor. So that even if they get off there, they have to get down to this level from the back door, which would be a huge internal ramp, taking up half the floor space, or a chairlift, which is this.
See if it could be a better solution.
Thank you, Peggy. Okay, again, thank you, everybody, for your comments. Really appreciate it, and it's part of what we take into to make these decisions, and part of our open process. So at this point, I think I'll take a motion to close the public hearing, and I'm going to recommend, so let me do that first. Is there a motion to close the public hearing? Trustee Golio, second trustee Rosillo, all in favor? That passes with 6 ayes. And what I'd like to do here, just because it's fresh, is just to move action item number 1 up now, and then we'll get the courtesy of the floor, since it's fresh here. And
Sorry, I mean, you just closed it. I did have one other question. Because I think.
you can still,
I can still make it,
Yeah.
okay. I'm pretty sure, I just want to confirm that the bus stop's not being relocated, correct? Staying where it is? Can somebody confirm that at the microphone? Yes, thank you.
okay, thank you. So I want to move action item number 1 up now that it's fresh, and we have this on the agenda, is to consider a motion to approve the ADA ramp in front of 75 Main Street. So after all of this discussion, I think that we do have a way forward, and I think it does incorporate certainly a lot of what the building department has been concerned about in this research in terms of the ADA requirements. And I'm going to read through this. I think it's important. I want everybody to know what's in this resolution and what we're going to consider here. So this will be a resolution of the Board of Trustees of the Village of Dobbs Ferry granting amended site plan approval for 75 Main Street. I'm not going to read everything word for word, but I'll give a good summation here as best as I can. Whereas Gotham Design and Community Development, on behalf of the owner, has applied for a number of minor changes to the approved site plan for 75 Main Street, and denoted on the tax assessment map, and it gives the parcel number. Whereas in order to permit consideration of the construction of an ADA ramp to be located and constructed within the village right-of-way, the Board of Trustees authorized the preparation and execution of an easement agreement for said access ramp if and when site plan approval was granted by the Board of Trustees for the construction of said ramp. And whereas the matter was considered by the Planning Board for a report and recommendation, and the Planning Board subsequently discussed the proposed project modifications at their meeting of July 6, 2017. And whereas by resolution dated July 6th, the Planning Board made the following recommendations to the Board of Trustees regarding the proposed site plan amendments. 1, the ADA ramp proposed to be located on the exterior of the building in the public right-of-way should be eliminated, and ADA access provided internal to the building. 2, the proposed driveway modification on Chestnut Street should be permitted. Whereas a duly noticed public hearing was held before the Board of Trustees on August 22, 2017. And whereas the Board of Trustees has given due and full consideration to the Planning Board's recommendations and the applicant's submission, as well as all comments from the public, and has determined that the exterior-mounted access ramp is a preferred solution to providing handicap access to the building, and that the proposed driveway modification is preferred. And whereas the Board of Trustees has considered the subject action pursuant to the State Environmental Quality Review Act, and under the specified section, has determined that these minor site plan modifications may be classified as type 2, which are exempt from environmental review. And whereas the Board of Trustees was presented on July 27, 2017, with a letter of determination from the Building Department. Therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Trustees herein grants amended site plan approval for the modification as requested by the applicant. So that is the resolution that we're going to consider here tonight. So on that basis, I'll take a motion on the resolution. Is there a motion? Trustee Golio, second. Trustee Cassell, discussion. All in favor?
Well, we got this,
I wanted to have discussion, yeah.
Yeah.
You want to?
Well, I do have one
Well, yeah,
comment
go
to
ahead.
make for the record, which is that I think, and I intend, if I can, to be at the HRB hearing, and we'll try and convey to them that this approval, we would hope, would be consistent with the HRB doing this ramp, finishing it in a way that is as unintrusive and consistent as is possible.
Yeah, I just wanted to make a comment. One, I think we all feel that it would be better if we didn't have a ramp, but we've exhausted every possibility, and there is no other alternative. ADA compliance is supposed to be part of site plan approval, and I think this is a huge lesson for us to learn that these kinds of amendments should not be happening after site plan approval. This should have been done from the very beginning. That being said, it's also the right thing to do. ADA compliance is important. The disabled have their rights as well, and it's, as I said, it's the right thing to do in this circumstance.
I just want to echo what Donna said, because, there was a lot of time and effort put in, site visits and conversations with the building inspector and other interested parties to determine what other alternatives there could be to the ramp, and including, discussions about whether or not it would impede the historic nature, if that's something that we can even consider when we're doing an ADA review, and there was a lot of effort put in, even though maybe it's disappointing some people, including myself. I agree with Donna that at the end of the day, it is really the right thing for us as a village to do, to protect all our residents and have them all have the same rights for public buildings.
Yeah, I'm also in agreement totally with Donna. I'm not happy with the ramp or how we got here today, but in light of all the work that Ed did and showed that it's the best possible process in this, I think it is the right thing to do. We should make the disabled people feel as accommodated as everyone else. So in light of the research and the determination that the experts have made in this matter, I feel that I had no other way to vote but to vote for the rights of the disabled. So I'm not happy, but I think that's the best solution.
I basically echo what Vinny and everybody else has touched on. At the end of the day, it's the right thing to do for people who don't have the same abilities as others, so.
Great comments, guys. Okay, all in favor of the motion? Passes with 6 ayes. Can you guys get on your way now and get this building fixed up and getting going? And Melissa, best of luck to you, and thanks for your interest in our village and investing in our village. Really appreciate it. Good luck to you. Okay, moving on. Where are we next? Courtesy of the floor. Is there anybody that would wish to address the board on any issue? Sorry it took us a while to get here, but those were 2 big issues, and we knew we were going to have to spend some time on it. So if you've got anything that's on your mind, any concerns you have, any complaints, any good things to say on the agenda or not, now would be the time to do it. Patty, you'll go first.
Thank you. It is getting towards the end of August, and the members of the FESTA committee are hoping that everyone is getting their applications in. We are getting a flood of applications hopefully soon. It took us a little while to get started this year, because we tried to do some different things, and it got a little bit complicated, but we've got it all straightened out. The village has been great, and I think we're on our way, and we're looking for people to get signed up, and I think the mayor needs to start working on his part.
And
We'll do
remind
the
us the
best we
date,
can.
Patty?
October 14th, and we are looking for volunteers in the parking lot, Larry. You guys do such a great job, so I'm hoping you do this year. Thank you.
Thanks, Patty. And I think we sent, there's a new upgraded website that gives some information on the Festa, and we'll get that on the very next mayor's newsletter, which will be in early September. Wait for everyone to kind of get back from their holidays and back to normal routines, and we'll get that out. Great, thanks very much. Yes, sir. And sorry to having, you wait all that time with your kids there, but anyway, welcome.
2 months ago, I sent each of you a petition which was signed by probably concerned parents about a raised crosswalk on Bellwood intersection with transfer. So I wanted to bring this up again so that it doesn't get forgotten. On September 5, school year starts again, and people are driving unreasonable on Bellwood and walk out. They are in a hurry for Springhurst, others are in a hurry for the Children's Village, and all the traffic goes there. And they do not always stop at the stop sign, and sometimes they even overtake a school bus. And I am concerned, and as you see from the signatures which we collected, many of our parents in that region are also concerned about it. So I ask you to take action about it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And we did receive, and we noted the petition. We know Bellwood's been is a problematic street. You mentioned Walgrove as well. Does the traffic committee have any?
Yeah, the traffic committee, I
looked at
think,
this and-
was okay with it, and I think they were recommending, I don't know whether we need a traffic study or not to put something in like this, which is a possibility, so.
I think we
guess
might.
have to- yeah, we have to probably
But
talk
we've
to the
noted
chief about that.
the concerns, and I think we have some residents that are pretty close to that street and grew up around that street and certainly understand your concerns, and we all do, and we're going to look at it very, very closely. And I think you have there might be a specific location where the crosswalk might be recommended, but that's the kind of thing that you have to have the traffic engineers look at and the public safety, et cetera, to make sure that that's done right. We will look at it. Thank you very much. Anybody else care to address the board at this time? No? Okay. You sure?
Mayor,
Yep.
I believe she's here for item number 16, if you would like to move that down the line.
We won't keep you waiting. You're here for a block party? Okay, come on up. Come on up. We'll get it out of the way.
I am here for a third year in a row block party on June.
Identify yourself.
I'm sorry.
You have to state your name and address.
Long evening, I don't know how you can. Jennifer Collier, 37G. So, Shady Lane Block Party, September 9th. I believe I sent people down to Liz regarding, start at 3 p.m. No bouncy houses, just a DJ, and all the surrounding neighborhood, streets. We might third year in a row, been super successful for the neighborhood building. So we're just looking for approval to do it again.
That's awesome. And you know what? You're going to get it. So thanks for sitting through all this, and we'll move you along. We always check, and these things don't even get on the agenda unless the police chief has looked at it. There's no other conflicts, and you've done this before, and you know what's involved, and we really want to support these things. So is there a motion to approve the request from Jennifer Collier to have a block party on Shady Lane? This will be Saturday, September 9th, 2017, from 3 p.m. to 10 p.m. Trustee Golio, second trustee Russillo. Discussion, all in favor? That passes with 6 ayes.
Have fun.
You're done.
I don't believe you have to come. I don't think other people come when they're on the agenda. Just so you know.
You don't have to come.
You're always more
Thanks,
welcome.
Jennifer. Okay, so we've done action item number 1, so let's move to action item number 2, is to consider a proclamation in support of the mayor's redevelopment roundtable. Charlene, can you just give a little bit of background on this? I'm happy to read this too, might be good, but maybe background real quick here, yeah.
The background, it really is I spoke to John Nolan from the land use, and in truth, they are applying for a grant which we will be lead on, and it would be a grant that involves all the river towns. In order to do that, in order to give some backing to it, they have asked us to do this proclamation, and I agreed. I think that the board would approve it because it is going to be one of the aspects of the grant that we're going to apply for.
Right, and within this proclamation, it, again, as you said, proclaiming that we share several objectives with the other villages, towns, and cities, including increasing our tax base, revitalizing downtowns and neighborhoods. We've been at that for a long time here, this board has. Fostering energy efficiency, we do a lot in that area, both private and certainly in the public sector. Increasing transit options, we know we've got traffic issues, and the part of this is to find ways to reduce traffic congestion. Reducing CO2 emissions, we've done that with our carbon footprint initiatives, and we'll have more to talk about that in terms of adopting our climate action plan in September, which will be really exciting. Providing housing for local workers. So those are just a few examples. And so we do want to support this and move this forward. And as you said, Charlene, there's at the end of the day money available for us in these initiatives too. It all fits in. You know, if you don't think this is the way Dobbs Ferry should be going, then I think you're crazy. You know, really. So it all just makes sense, and it'll make us a much more efficient and better town, better place to be. So I'll take a motion now. Do we need to take action here, or is this just to present this?
Proclamation, and, you know, if you take action, at least we have it on the record that.
Okay, so let's
all
take
agree to
action.
it.
I'll put this out there. I'll take a motion for the board to approve the proclamation in support of the mayor's redevelopment roundtable. Is there a motion? Trustee Taylor, second. Trustee Sullivan, discussion. All in favor? That passes with 6 ayes. Action item number 3 is to consider motion to approve audits number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 for August 2017 as recommended by the village treasurer. Jeff, you're good with this? Okay, is there a motion to approve the audits? Trustee Rosillo, second. Trustee Taylor, discussion, all in favor? And that passes with 6 ayes. Action item number 4 is to consider motion to approve final year-end budget transfers for the budget year ending May 31st, 2017, as recommended by the village treasurer. Jeff, we do these year in, year out. It's just part of sort of, we're not increasing the budget or putting money in or taking money out. Just could you explain in, you know, one sentence or two what we're doing here, considering?
It's just, like you said, it's a year-end process that we do, and just to true up any overspent line items. You know, there's some budget line items that are, are not overspent, so there's some money available in the budget to true up these overspent line items.
Any questions for Jeff? Then I'll take a motion to approve the final year-end budget transfers for the budget year ending May 31st, 2017, as outlined by and recommended by the village treasurer. Is there a motion? Trustee Golio, second. Trustee Rosillo, discussion, all in favor? Passes with 6 ayes. Action under 5, consider awarding small claims assessment reviews, or we refer to these as SCARs sometimes, settlements, as recommended by the village's tax assessor in the amount of $106,874.34. That's a pretty big number.
Actually, I had asked Jeff about this earlier, because we weren't spent time on the board and understanding everything. And it seems to me, Jeff, please correct me if I'm wrong, that this might be a little bit higher than what we normally have because of the reassessments in Greenberg, and that next year it should probably be much smaller, like almost zero, because of the reassessment of care of a lot of issues.
That's correct. And from our discussion with the assessor, the SCAR should be settled early enough that that the corrections will happen before our tax. So we won't have these SCAR corrections, refunds.
So we'll have time to plan for that, and as you point out, given the reassessment of the townwide reassessment, there was obviously kind of a rush in that people had, and that this is a result of that. I think just a word of caution though, this doesn't end. Right? I mean, there are some things that are currently being looked at that go back many years. that you sort of inherit along the way. And we've inherited a fair amount of these, and the next board's gonna inherit some as well, and it's just sort of a fact of life. So this is what you have to carefully plan for, and Charlene does that, and we have the budget committee that helps with that, and of course, we all get involved too. We've done a pretty good job managing through that, but just, you know, that's just a reality of life, so.
Mayor, we're gonna get hit from past ones, as you say. In the future, our hope is that everything evens out since it's a new assessment, and the comparison will be arguably better than it has been in the past.
Great. Okay, thanks, Jeff. Thanks, Charlene. Then I'll take a motion to award the small claims assessment review settlements which have been recommended by the village's tax assessor, and this would be in total amount of $106,874.34. And this isn't one I know anybody wants to raise their hand on, but is there a motion? Trustee Cassell, second. Trustee Sullivan. Discussion, all in favor? And that passes with 6 ayes. Okay, action item number 6 is to consider a motion to approve an application for refund and credit. This is the Smith Family Irrevocable Trust in the amount of $1,220.11 as reviewed and recommended by, again, the tax assessor, Mrs. Edie McCarthy, who is the village tax assessor, and Ms. Beth Murphy, Executive Director of Westchester County Tax Commission. Can somebody help me with this, because I'm not sure what this is?
Yeah, there was a clerical error when the paperwork was sent out for the Smith Family Irrevocable Trust.
Okay.
Their veteran exemption is not included, so this is to remove the reduction of their assessment and the veteran exemption.
I believe she still lives in the house, and that's how they take the exemption. It's a trust.
Okay, so clerical error needed to be corrected. Everybody that needs to look at it has looked at it, and this is where we're at. It's not a huge amount, but we just at least know the process has been followed properly, and everybody that needed to look at it has looked at it. Great, thanks for that. Then I'll take a motion to approve the application for refund and credit to the Smith family for $1,220.11 as recommended by the village tax assessor and the Westchester County Tax Commission. Is there a motion? Trustee Taylor, second. Trustee Sullivan. Discussion. All in favor? Passes with 6 ayes. Action item number 7 is consider motion to make the following information technology purchases. Email migration for an amount up to $10,000. County router replacement for an amount up to $9,000. Disaster recovery for an amount up to $900 per month and up to $2,500 implementation fee. Server warranties for an amount up to $3,210. Village Hall Wi-Fi upgrade for an amount up to $3,615. Fire Department to Village Hall migration for an amount up to $2,000. Village Department network infrastructure for an amount up to $25,000 as recommended by the village administrator and the village treasurer. So that's a lot of stuff there. A lot of new stuff.
Will this fix our email problem?
One hopes so. Why we're doing this? Westchester County at one point gave us a very, very good price to do what they're doing. That is no longer true. They can't afford it, so their prices have gone up. They are comparable or maybe a little tiny bit less than what we're talking about here. Additionally, and why we decided that this would be the best route to take, cost-wise it doesn't make a difference. And the service, Westchester County server, they have a lot of other things going on there, and we believe that we would be better served, and our email would be better, and also we're expanding it so the Wi-Fi is available here and in the conference room and throughout the building in a much better manner. This would also even out how the fire department works and how the police department works. They will keep portions of the Westchester County because they have to for the 911, but then they would have their usual mail, email, etc. on our server. So that's the story. Oh, and funds are available, they have been available, they were actually in the treasurer's fund and have been there for a while, and it was earmarked for this purpose.
Okay, thanks, Charlene. And if there's, just to note also that we did receive a memo from the village administrator and from the village treasurer sort of outlining each of these items and some detail in terms, I mean, some very technical detail here, but just to give us a sense of where all these costs are coming from.
Yes.
You're recommending it.
I'm
This is part of
recommending
what
it
we look to you
strongly.
to do, and to make improvements to village technology. And a lot of this is, of course, has to do with public safety and making sure that we don't lose communication. Things stay up during times when you really need them to stay up. The Wi-Fi is, I know, frustrating here, so that gets fixed, and some other things here that really are not just about people having, access to Wi-Fi. This is real public safety that's involved here, and this is a real upgrade in that, so we're always looking at that.
And it's going to take around 4 months for all the migration to happen, starting at the end, it would start somewhat at the end of September. So it's a little long way off, but there's hope at the end of the tunnel.
Okay. Any other questions at all, or concerns, or? Okay. Then I'll take a motion to approve the information technology purchases as outlined in the memo from the village administrator and the village treasurer, and is explained by the village administrator in the amounts that we went through and talked about. Is there a motion? Trustee Cassell, second trustee Sullivan. Discussion, all in favor? And that passes with 6 ayes. Thanks, Charlene. Thanks, Jeff. Action item number 8 is to consider a motion to authorize the police chief to enter into an agreement with ITS Incorporated for 24 single-space and 136 double-space meters for an amount of $126,000 as recommended by Police Chief Betsy Gilardi. We spent a lot of time on this, and I know Betsy couldn't be here tonight, but Charlene, maybe just really quick background.
Sure.
We've got a lot of detail on this, including locations of the meters, amounts, how many, and what it's all gonna cost. Anything else you wanna add?
I think that basically if you spend like 15 minutes in our office, in our front office, you will hear people complain about the meters. I mean, it is a constant thing. One of the employees says it takes 30% of his time dealing with this. And I said, well, now what are you going to do with the 30%? We'll figure that out. However, these are only replacements. They're replacements of what is there now. It's not adding anything. It's not even the kiosk at this point. It's just the meters, because we've had such a problem. We can deal with, the other issues afterwards. They do everything but cook your dinner. You can do smart cards, you can do apps, you can do coins, you can do credit cards. So it's the whole gamut. And I recommend it also.
And we also had the discussion about why meters instead of kiosks, and this is more cost effective and almost more, it's easier for the pedestrians
It's
to
easier
get to
for
it.
pedestrians, it's easier for the senior citizens. And Donna, would you mind talking about your discussion with the traffic committee? Because they've okayed this also.
Well, not totally okay, but we did have a discussion because we were considering that, well, why aren't we doing kiosks? It's like the wave of the future. But in considering the fact that the cost of these, what we do with the poles, if we put in kiosks, how many kiosks we would need to serve the amount of space that we have. You have to have them on both sides of the street. You have to have them within reasonable distance from where the cars are parked, and we've got hills, and so there are a lot of reasons as to why these meters work well. Kiosks can work well in a parking lot. On the streets like this, it's not really cost effective, and it's not really feasible.
I think my understanding is that kiosks usually aren't on like main streets like this, where it's not like a central, like in Hastings behind the pharmacy, there's like a central lot where the spots are like condensed, so it makes sense to have a kiosk where it's on Main and Cedar, that just wouldn't make any sense.
I think what the residents are really going to like is, or I should say, a lot of the shop owners, is that people will not be coming in and asking them for quarters all the time. The flexibility of payments, all kidding aside, with this meter, should take that issue away altogether.
Yeah. We don't have the apps yet because we haven't decided. Everybody has a different app, so we have to talk about that. But
And
credit cards-
these meters will work. They'll work.
Yes.
Very simple.
And they'll work with our village, we'll be, I guess, getting new village.
They will be a
cards.
complete replacement, and we'll get the cards that are appropriate for that machine.
Excellent.
Because it's not the cards that don't work.
It's the meters, yeah.
Got it.
Great, thanks for those questions, and Charlene, thank you, and I just would add one more thing. I think capital funding has been in place for this for some time, because this is not the first time we've looked at this. It's been looked at for a long time, and this is coming in, excuse me, less than the original capital funding that we put aside, so economically, it looks like it turned out a little bit better, too. So. Okay, great, thanks, Charlene. On that, then, I'll take a motion to authorize the police chief to enter into an agreement with ITS Inc. for 24 single-space and 136 double-space meters. This will be for an amount of $126,000 as recommended by the police chief and as recommended by the village administrator. Is there a motion? Trustee Cassell, second. Trustee Taylor, discussion, all in favor? It passes with 6 ayes. Action item number 9 is to consider a motion to authorize the village administrator to sign Amendment B to the 2015-16 snow and ice agreement with the New York State Department of Transportation. This is pretty simple, straightforward, do it every year. Charlie, nothing special about this.
No, this is an amendment, and we get 1,000 some odd dollars, so I don't think anybody.
This is an amendment to last year's
Yes,
agreement. Yeah,
yes, and
yeah,
it gives us 1,000 more dollars. We like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks, Larry, for pointing that out. Any other questions or comments on that? Okay, sounds like something we should do. Right, Charlie?
Oh, yes.
Okay. So I'll take a motion to authorize the village administrator to sign Amendment B to the 2015-16 snow and ice agreement with the New York State Department of Transportation. Is there a motion? Trustee Sullivan, second. Trustee Taylor, discussion, all in favor? That passes with 6 ayes. Action item number 10 is to consider a motion to authorize the village administrator to sign the 2017-18 snow and ice agreement with the New York State Department of Transportation.
And this is the same,
So this is what we do. This is not an amendment.
Coming year,
This is the actual agreement.
yeah.
Okay? Pretty straightforward. Is there a motion to authorize the village administrator to sign the 2017-18 snow and ice agreement with the New York State Department of Transportation? Trustee Cassell, second. Trustee Rosillo, discussion, all in favor? It passes with 6 ayes. Action item number 11. We'll give a little discussion on this and some background. Consider the following bond resolutions, and there are 4 that we are going to consider here, and this is sort of a first step, and we'll kind of explain here tonight, and then this will come back as well. The first is, this is essentially going to be bond resolutions which are going to be addressing a number of capital improvement projects within the village of Dobbs Ferry, including the Embassy Center, new firefighting, mechanical equipment, specifically the ladder truck, and upgrades to other village recreational assets, specifically the pool area. In addition to that, this action is going to also roll over an existing bonds that we have in place of approximately 1.2 million. So it is all sort of packaged up together, and by doing it now, there is some timeliness to this because we can lock in some lower rates. We don't think the rates, we know the rates aren't going to stay down forever. In fact, they've started to go up. So that's being incorporated in this action that we're considering. Along with these funds, and we'll talk more about this, there is the possibility that we will get additional funds for some of these projects, which will be over and above and sort of help to dilute some of the costs to the taxpayers, although we firmly believe that these are, very important dollars that we should be investing, and taxpayers should be doing that. And as well as we can have some discussion that of some contributions potentially from the Dobbs Ferry Local Development Corporation. Part of what we also need to do here is to pass a resolution which is sort of stating that whatever environmental issues that need to be looked at, compliance, et cetera, that we are going to make those findings and determinations along with it, because this is construction projects and building and things of that nature. So that's kind of where that's kind of what we're considering tonight, but I know there's a little bit more detail maybe you can put in for that.
Sure. Usually what one does when you issue bonds is you have the projects already started. In this case, we're not doing that because we are looking to save money in the rollover of the $1.2 million. Because when you issue a bond, it's very expensive. It's just very expensive. So if we do it now, we can roll over the 1.2 and then have the money for these particular issues. Now, these are very, very close. They're not ballpark, a little closer than ballpark numbers. But they are also, the resolutions are also written so it is a more inclusive. So we can do it for any village buildings. You can do it for the Embassy Center, which is a project that actually has started, because we're going to do a, if the board approves it, we're going to award the contract for the foundation. So we have that in mind. But with that, with the Embassy Center, my feeling is we've gotten $150,000 grant. We received not too long ago $140,000, and I believe we will get more money. There's donations, there's the recreation funds, so it won't be this. We don't have to spend $2 million on that. If we spend less, like $1 million less, we can then do the village properties and all those properties that really need work. So it's a movable feast, but it's not something that you won't see in every aspect of what we do. Every project that's done, because we're not going to spend money now, and every penny that we spend, you guys have to approve. So this is not something, oh, you gave Jeff or myself $3.2 million to do whatever we want. This is properties that must be fixed, and now we have the money. Remember when the budget, what we said it was a capital budget? Well, here's the bond. These are the capital projects. We've discussed the pool. You all know that Gould Park needs improvements. We are getting prices on it. We're looking to $800,000 to $1 million in projects, and including some improvements to the building over there. So hopefully we can get those right numbers, but we'll do as much as we can. The fire trucks, there's no question you want to keep those fire trucks. You know, after 381 Main, you want to keep those trucks in working order.
So this money would just sit in a fund and we'll just use it as it arises?
As it arises, but under the certain categories, you must have the certain categories. But we made the categories broad enough so we can spend money for like village properties. So it doesn't have to be just the Embassy Center, it could be Village Hall.
And this has been obviously covered in our budget, so we're covered for that. And also, do you know what this is going to cost us per year?
Jeff?
The debt payments estimated, don't have the funds, up to $600,000 a year principal and interest payments for 20 years.
However, the first year we don't pay anything. We're not going to pay till 2018. Right? Yeah, 18, 19.
Well, we're already paying a chunk of that on the something similar on the 1.2 million that we're refinancing, no? Because that debt is already outstanding.
The bond anticipation note will become part of the bond, so we won't pay down on that until 18, 19.
So the monies that we would usually spend for like next year, right, will be carried over. So we'd have, it'd be really half of that, right? Yeah. So we save 300 one year, and then we'll pay the 600. It'll only cost us 300.
The first year?
Yeah.
After that, it's 600,000.
And after that, that goes down a little bit, just a little bit.
And Jeff, I would add to that, is that we did retire debt last year as part of, the really prudent planning we're doing and everything that we've been looking at. So, this isn't gonna add, it's gonna add something, but this is work that has to be done. It absolutely has to be done. It's an investment that has to be made for the future. And we have ways of funding it, and you're gonna look for the best ways to do that. We have advisors that will look at it. We have the budget committee that's looked at this. And this was part of, a very big part of the 2017-18 budget process. We made a commitment to a capital budget. We've made a commitment. We've made no doubt of it. We are making a commitment to doing this work, to fixing these things. But the village has the financial ability to do it now. But also to be clear, we're not spending the money tonight, not even close. But we do need to take this action to get these, to get this sort of lined up and set up, and to do it properly, and how we have to do this as a municipality. And as you said, just to be clear, anytime any monies are spent on these projects, when they're actually spent, the board at that time is going to have to approve it or not. So, okay. So we do have a memo from the village administrator and the treasurer outlining the capital project bond resolutions that we're considering. It has a lot of detail to it. There's a lot of things that we need to do in terms of sort of how you do this as a municipality. So there's sort of separate resolutions here, or separate paperwork, I should say, for each one of these items. There will be more that we will discuss in upcoming weeks on this particular action, but we do need to take some action tonight to get it moving. These are critical items, as I said. The Embassy Center. Obviously, we know the importance of that and how much of a priority that is for the village. The firefighting we've been talking about for the last 5 or 6, 7 years, and we need to move forward on that. We can't. That can't be put off. And the pools we want to do. Part of what the Budget Committee will also be looking at and has looked at is that specifically related to the Embassy Center and the pool is that there are revenue enhancements and benefits that come from the upgrades of these facilities, and those revenue enhancements are in some cases very significant. So there's a revenue part to this whole process as well that's being looked at and has been looked at. Any other questions for Charlene or Jeff at all? If not, then we can kind of, I think, do this in one round, or you don't want me to do each one of these separately? Or?
I defer to Darius.
Darius, what do you think?
We'll just read them off to the motion for all of them.
Yeah, and I'll read them off. Okay, so the motion here then will be to consider the following bond resolutions. 1, the environmental compliance resolution to make findings and determinations. 2, bond resolution dated August 22nd, 2017, authorizing the issuance of up to $3,200,000 aggregate principal amount serial bonds of the Village of Dobbs Ferry pursuant to the local finance law to finance the cost of the construction, reconstruction, and acquisition of building improvements in and for the village. 3, bond resolution dated August 22nd, 2017, authorizing the issuance of up to $2 million aggregate principal amount serial bonds of the Village of Dobbs Ferry, County of Westchester, pursuant to the local finance law, the cost of the acquisition and or refurbishment of firefighting vehicles. And 4, the final one, is a bond resolution dated August 22nd, 2017, authorizing the issuance of up to $800,000 aggregate principal amount serial bonds pursuant to the local finance law to finance the cost of the acquisition of improvements to the village parks and recreation areas. So that would be, those are the resolutions sort of all outlined there, the 4 of them. Is there a motion? Trustee Golio, second. Trustee Cassell, discussion, all in favor? And that passes with 6 ayes. So we look forward to discussing this more, presenting more of the details to the public. It's very, very exciting. And then one just last thing I would add is that I want to thank Jeff and Charlene, and the Budget Committee and everybody involved, all the staff. This village would not be in a position to be doing this type of thing and making these type of investments and recognizing that we have some real infrastructure things that need to be improved upon if it were not for the work of the Treasury Department, the administrator, the 24/7 approach to the budget. The record is very, very clear here. The Village of Dobbs Ferry has had extremely low tax rates, but we've gotten a lot of things done. And it's a combination of that as well as the revenues that have been generated, new revenues that have been generated with the redevelopment projects. Otherwise, we'd never be in a position to be able to look at any of this and make any improvements. So everyone's working really hard on this, and it's all part of the bigger picture. Thanks, Charlene. Action item number 12 is to consider a motion to authorize the fire chief to enter into an agreement with HGAC BY to be designated as the lawful purchasing agent under a cooperative purchasing program for the refurbishment of the Village of Dobbs Ferry fire trucks for an amount not to exceed $6,000. Essentially, we're going to retain a consultant to work with the village to sort of guide them through, help our department guide them through what will ultimately be a refurbished new, and that's part of what we just did on the bond resolution here as well.
That's exactly it. You know, the small volunteer municipalities use HGAC BY, which is a Texas corporation. However, they go by the New York State competitive bidding law. They are also, it's a very small community that do fire trucks and fire rigs and ladders, and these guys know them all. So all of the smaller municipalities use this particular company. In addition, they've done the work already for all intents and purposes, because the fire chiefs work with them closely, they know them, they're in the community, and this is just pretty much agreeing to pay them for the work that they've done. Obviously, you do not have to approve it, because there was no questions that, that they were doing this under any kind of agreement. But obviously, there's nobody else out there. They will do the competitive bidding. They will put it out. It will be appropriate. And in fact, they've decided there would be one new fire rig, a ladder, and then a refurbished truck. So.
Okay, any questions at all? Thanks, Charlene. I'll take a motion then to authorize the fire chief to enter into an agreement with HGAC BY, designated as the lawful purchasing agent under cooperative purchasing program for the refurbishment of the Village of Dobbs Ferry fire trucks, and this will be for an amount not to exceed $6,000. Is there a motion? Trustee Golio, second trustee Russillo. Discussion, all in favor? And that passes with 6 ayes. Action item number 13 is consider motion to award the bid for 2017 joint road paving to the lowest responsible bidder, in this case ELQ Industries Incorporated, for a total amount of $3,523,256.80. The amount that the Village of Dobbs Ferry would be responsible for is $163,050. This is basically the contract that is awarded to, in this case, ELQ, under a sharing arrangement agreement with all of the Rivertown villages, essentially the VOC, which we meet regularly, mayors and village administrators, and collectively we have saved a lot of money for the residents of all of these villages, including Dobbs Ferry, under this contract. Do this every year. We've got about 26 square, 26 miles of roadway in Dobbs Ferry that we've got to maintain, and they have about a 20-year life, and so we have to do stuff every year to do this. So it's part of running a village, right? Any questions on this at all? Okay, then I'll take a motion to award the bid for the joint road paving to ELQ Industries. Is there a motion? Trustee Taylor, second trustee Cassell, all in favor? Passed with 6 ayes. Action number 14, consider motion to award the bid for the additions, alterations, foundations to the Embassy Center to the sole bidder, Tony Casal Incorporated, for an amount of $271,000, as recommended by the village's consulting engineer, who's not here tonight, but
both Ed and I
George
were
Palmer
at
has
the
been
meeting.
on this, and you're working very closely with him, as well as Ed Manley, and this is very exciting.
This is very exciting, and this was a joint decision by Ed, myself, and the engineer who interviewed the sole bidder. I mean, in truth, we went in saying, oh, we're going to rebid this. But after meeting with them, after checking out their qualifications, and after reducing their price to $271 instead of the $286 that they first bid on. We felt comfortable with them. Engineering-wise, George felt comfortable, by building codes, asking certain questions, and the monetary aspects, and also the projects that they have done, I felt comfortable with them too. This is a big step for all of us, and hopefully the work will begin sometime mid-September.
That's great. Any questions for Charlene on this? I guess just quickly updating, I mean, we've been also, the Facilities Committee has been spending a lot of time in addition to, or sort of parallel with the work to sort of frame out the foundation work that's going to get done first, but there's a lot of work being done in terms of the rest of the building that's ongoing, and some big progress has been made there, and that's really moving ahead.
And the Facilities Committee is, in lockstep with us. Everything that we do, we have passed by the Facilities Committee and have gotten input. The bid, obviously, was something that the village does because it has to do a competitive bid, but the Facilities Committee was aware that that's what we're doing. And so it will start soon. I mean, we've done a lot of investigation because there's all kinds of issues, which I won't bore you when it's late, but foundation, we're going to start.
And the Recreation Commission is fully on board with this, as is the Budget Committee, and of course, this does tie into the bond resolution actions we took a little bit earlier tonight as well. So, great stuff, and we look forward to getting more updates on this, and hopefully seeing some shovels in the ground very, very soon there. Okay, so to move that forward then, take a motion to award the bid for the additional, or for the additions, alterations, foundations to the Embassy Center to Tony Casal Incorporated for an amount of $271,000, as recommended by the village's consulting engineer, as supported by the village's Recreation Commission, the Budget Committee, and the village administrator. And hopefully supported by all the Board of Trustees, too. Is there a motion? Trustee Golio, second Trustee Rosillo. Discussion, all in favor? Great, that passes with 6 ayes. Action item number 15 is to consider motion to purchase village vehicles off of Westchester County, New York State contracts as follows. I won't list all these, but we've got some requirements here for the police department, for the building department, and 2 for the DPW. Anything more you want to add on this? I mean, this is just basically equipment.
These were discussed during the budget process. The reason why it appears before you now is because we had to do the end of the year wrap up and find out how much money we really had from last year's budget to buy these. Jeff has determined that there's money sufficient enough to buy these, and that's why it comes up now instead of at the budget.
I just would make a comment, for anyone who's watching, just that this isn't the only place where this decision is made. There are the budget seminars in preparation for the budget, which are open to the public, where the trustees and the department heads talk in some detail, and the rationales are very carefully thought out by the village and the village staff, in particular, Charlene and her team, to make sure that these decisions are being done because they're needed. Not on a whim.
It's not, trustee, you're right, it's not out of a whim. This is part of a capital project, and the turnover of the vehicles are necessary every 5, 10, depending on what vehicle you're talking about. And so now we're in a groove, so to speak, and we have a capital program that looks to this.
Any other questions? Thanks, Larry. Thanks, Charlene. Then I'll take a motion to approve the purchases for village vehicles off the Westchester County, New York State contracts as recommended by the village administrator and as presented by the police department, the building department, and the Department of Public Works. Is there a motion? I'll also add the village treasurer as well. Is there a motion? Trustee Taylor? Second, Trustee Cassell. Discussion, all in favor? That passes with 6 ayes. Action item number 16 we took care of earlier with Jennifer. And last one here, action item number 17 is to consider motion to approve a request from Matt and Caitlin Fry to have a block party on, South Lawn Avenue, Sunday, September 10th, 2017, with a rain date of Sunday, September 17. This will be from 3 p.m. to 8 p.m., again on South Lawn Avenue. Is there a motion to approve this block party? Trustee Sullivan, second. Trustee Taylor, discussion, all in favor? And that passes with 6 ayes. Great. Okay, moving on, the minutes. This is for the regular board, the last time we met, July 11th, which Liz had distributed, which we have. Hope everybody had a chance to look over that. I think we were all here. Yeah, I think everybody was here. So if there aren't any changes or typos anybody found, then I'll take a motion to adopt the minutes of the regular meeting of the Board of Trustees for July 11, 2017, as presented. Is there a motion? Trustee Rosillo, second. Trustee Golio, discussion, all in favor? Okay, so we adopt those minutes officially. And that brings us to the end. How'd I do? Time went, we did okay. A little better than we thought. Came under.
9:46.
Yeah, it was a good meeting, covered a lot of ground. Let me just go down and see if there's any reports here at all. Paulie, do you have anything at all?
No, I just want to, give a little shout out to the library for having all the quiz classes and everybody at the library yesterday to watch the solar eclipse. I think that was really cool because people did have a hard time finding the classes, so it was a cool community event. There were a lot of kids there, so that was nice.
Great. Thanks, Nicole. And remind them, I want to, add more things in the newsletter if they want to get some stuff out. I've done it in the past, so if they have anything coming up, I'll remind you, maybe to remind them to just send over some things to me if you sent me.
You didn't get it, so.
Yeah, but I just want to, if there's any updates or new things coming up, make sure we get whatever they want out there if it helps them for sure. Larry?
I don't have anything.
Donna?
Nope.
No?
Just very briefly, we heard that Justin was away. I just want to make it clear that Justin and a few other people, including kids, are in Tampa for a mandatory drug-free communities grants, and that's been paid for by the grants, but that they've gotten from the Service Council and the federal government. So they are there, and it's a mandatory drug-free community training program.
Vegas sounds like
It's Tampa.
Very easily confused city.
Okay.
Tampa in the summer, cool.
That's great. Vic, anything?
No.
Charlene, anything from the village administrator's office?
Other than the $140,000 that we won from NYSERDA grant.
Right. We spent a lot of money tonight, or we're committing a lot of money,
Yeah.
so we better be getting some in.
Yeah, and I want to thank Nina and the Energy Committee for doing so much work on that.
Yeah, definitely, and that's great. And just looking ahead, we got a lot of stuff done tonight that was pretty important. The code action, I think, was really big, and hopefully we get, that 75 million can get moving on. But as far as mentioning the Energy Task Force, we expect to be taking action in September on the Climate Action Plan,
Yes.
which is going to be really exciting. So we look forward to that, and going to be plenty of stuff going on here over the next couple of months. I just want to make one final note here, and I'm going to actually pass this on to the Historical Society, but Jim Stone, who has been a long-term resident of the village, member of the Budget Committee actually for many, many years, lives in the Landing, had sent me a note and had called me some time ago that he came across this book, which is an illustration of the Croton Aqueduct by F.B. Tower of the Engineering Department. And this book, I guess, is a reprint of a book that's almost 150 years, or it's almost 200 years old, actually. This isn't the 200-year-old version, but because I wouldn't be bringing it here. But it's really great. It has a lot of things about the waterfront, a lot of history of the water, a lot of history of the aqueduct, some really cool illustrations. I would imagine that the Historical Society might have something like this already, but if not, we're gonna package this up and forward it to them, because that's where it needs to be. So I wanted to thank Jim for bringing that to our attention, and we'll get that to the Historical Society. It's a great piece of history there.
Mayor, if I could just add one thing since we'll be meeting again, that I should encourage everybody to sign up for the Labor Day race. You can do it online this year, and they are going to have a chip reader, and maybe Vic will be the announcer again at the end and have a better microphone, but it's always a fun race, and it's a good time, so it's September 4th at usually like 8 or 9 a.m.
Great. Thanks, Nicole. Okay, great. Well, thanks, everybody. There being no further business, meeting is adjourned.